Auto insurance can all seem the same until it comes time to use it. So don't get stuck paying more for less coverage. Switch to USAA Auto Insurance and you could start saving money in no time. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply.
USAA.
This episode is brought to you by Audi. The road is calling. Embrace the thrill of the drive with the all-new, fully electric Audi Q6 e-tron. Featuring effortless power, serious acceleration, and advanced Audi tech. It's not just a new EV, it's a new way to experience driving. The all-new, fully electric Audi Q6 e-tron is here. The next chapter of Audi starts now.
Hey, I'm Amanda from Trifecta Fitness. We're proud to be Clarksville's new Get Fit headquarters. Trifecta Fitness is a state-of-the-art spin and strength training studio. Our spin studio is truly one of a kind in this area, complete with 20 state-of-the-art live fitness bikes and an incredible sound system. Our strength training is done in small groups of 6 or fewer, and all of our strength and spin classes are scalable for every level of experience. Come see us in the heart of Clarksville, just behind MAPCO at the corner of Old Trenton Road and Wilma Rudolph Boulevard. Call us for more info at 931-542-6265 or download our Trifecta Fitness app for a full list of upcoming classes.
For every veteran, there is a story about a calling to serve, to fight for the freedoms of the American people. And every story has a struggle, a sacrifice, and invisible wounds. Warrior Watts programs help veterans recover from PTSD and invisible wounds through exercise, nutrition, and connecting with other veteran leaders. It is estimated that 22 veterans die each day by suicide, and another 30 veterans die each day by substance abuse. These are preventable deaths. Warrior Watt is committed to fighting PTSD through fitness, nutrition, and community.
All right. Welcome back.
MisFitNation. MisFitNation. The MisFitNation show.
We are a show founded by a veteran and hosted by 2 veterans and a military spouse. Our mission is to get people to tell their stories to the world. If you're an author, share your tips with the MisFitNation. If you're a musician or an actor, our audience need to know how they too can get into the business. Coaches. We love our coaches. Come on and share your tips with the MisFitNation to help them become better versions of themselves. If you are a corporate leader or an entrepreneur, come on and show how you did it and how hard you have fought for success. If you are a veteran, first responder, or Gold Star family, we would love to have you come on and share your story with the MisFitNation. We always have time for you. If you're feeling down, alone, or starting to see the darkness, Stop. Think about those who are around you. You are not alone. You will be missed. If you feel like your problems will be a burden to those in your inner circle or feel embarrassed, dial 988. If you are a veteran, take option 1. We need you to keep pushing forward. Don't make a permanent solution to a temporary problem. If you are a new listener, welcome to the MisFitNation show. Be sure to subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast app. Also on our YouTube channel at @the_MisFitNation. Subscribe and click the bell to keep you up to date on our latest episodes and all of our news. You can also find us on Heroes Media Group and About Face Radio. Now, let's get to the show!
All right. Welcome to a special Sunday morning edition of the MisFitNation. We are live at night across the pond in Germany with our guest who's awesome. And we work this out so we both can share with our audience all the work that she's doing and her journey to where we are today. This morning, we don't have any bad news as far as first responders. We do have LA still in our minds. We still have Western North Carolina, Eastern Tennessee very much in our minds because they still need help out there after the hurricane. Keep all those in your thoughts, prayers, and if you can help, go out there and help either coast, either way. Those people all need help. So today we have a great guest. She's the founder of Act Bold and creator of Get Better Roles and Passion Project to Pro, or P3, or P2, I'm sorry. Discover how she reignited her career at 47, landing roles with top studios such as A24, Hallmark, and Netflix. Learn her proven strategies to help actors and creatives take control of their careers and monetize their passions. So without further ado, let's welcome Anne Alexander-Sieder to the MisFitNation show. Welcome, Anne.
Hey, Rich. Nice to be here. I'm thrilled. How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's great that we can connect like this. I always love connecting across the world with people, and it shows how small the world has become thanks to technology and the internet and such like that. So it's awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
And first, I'll apologize for spelling your name wrong in the title. I'll fix that later.
No problem. Yeah.
But I did give about a 2-sentence bio on you there. If you don't mind, tell us a little more about you from as far back as you want to go to how we got here.
Oh, wow. Okay. Hold on. Yeah. So I was a professional actor in America. I am an American living in Germany. I'm also a German at this point. But let's go back about 30 years. I was a professional actor living and working in America. I was SAG-AFTRA, meaning I belonged to the actors unions, and I was working on my equity card, which is the other actors union for theater. I was making enough money as an actor that I didn't have to work a side hustle as a bartender or a waiter. And I even was having my health insurance paid for by SAG, which I was pretty darn proud of. And just when you think you kind of know the path you're on, life throws you a curveball. And my curveball showed up looking like this hot German guy. And whoosh, one thing led to another. And I found myself living in Germany, pregnant, starting a family. And honestly, to begin with, I was thrilled at being a mom. I always wanted to be a mom. But I honestly didn't see a way forward initially with my career because you kind of have to be able to communicate. And I didn't speak, other than Gesundheit in kindergarten, I didn't really have any German words, so wasn't much communicating going on. And when my son was about 2 years old, I saw a poster that said the American Drama Group. And I was like, aha, okay, that sounds like it's got my name on it. Let me go check that out. So I made an appointment. I went and auditioned for them. It went really well. The guy was like, welcome to the American Drama Group family, and starts pulling out this huge paper calendar. It was a long time ago, showing me their touring dates. And I did not know this was a touring theater group. So obviously I have a little boy at home. I have a husband. There's no way that I can be off touring around Europe for 9 months of the year. So I was, apologized for having wasted his time. I stood up, and almost on a whim as I was leaving, I leaned back in and I asked him, hey, you wouldn't happen to have a couple of names here in Munich that I could reach out to, would you? And I think, honestly, it was kind of like an epiphany, a revelation for me. It was the first time that I remember like specifically asking for low-hanging fruit help. Like make it an easy lift help. And the result was he gave me 2 names, which became pivotal in launching what became an extremely prolific voiceover career in Germany. So at one point, I was one of a handful of top American voices in coming out of Germany. So representing all the German brands that you've heard of, and all the ones that you probably have never heard of, doing everything and anything from cartoons, video games, corporate videos, commercials, car instructions, like turn left here, those kind of things, meditations. I mean, really, my motto was always like museum guides. My motto was always, if my son could eventually see it, I'm down. Let's do it. And so really it led to me doing quite a lot of things. The voiceover then led to presenting, which then led to commercial work, which was all acting adjacent. And it brought up a lot of interesting feelings in me. So I was proud of everything I was able to accomplish in Germany as an American actor. I was also very proud of my family and very involved in that. But I was also feeling a lot of guilt because I was wanting more. It wasn't what I wanted when I became an actor. It wasn't the dream. It wasn't what I signed up for. And I wasn't even getting a chance to like sink my teeth into those meaty roles. And yet I didn't want to seem ungrateful. I didn't, so I had a lot of guilt around that, to be honest. And I was always looking for something to fill the void that acting had left in my heart, in my soul. So I did so many other creative things, from studying interior design to painting to blogging to YouTube to all sorts of different things. But it wasn't until my son was about 16 years old and he came to me. We had a standing movie date every Friday night, and he came to me on Thursday and he was like, "Mom, I don't want to hang out with you on the weekends anymore." Yeah, exactly. Very bittersweet, very bittersweet. But it was interesting. And I think my husband was away golfing that weekend or something. But I had the entire weekend like to myself for the first time since I had left America, for the most part. And it was the first time that I could ask myself, well, what do I want? Like, not what do we want? What should I do with my son? What do my husband and I want to do? What do I want to do? And the answer was, I just wanted to have some fun. And my idea of a good time is taking an acting workshop. So I sat down and I Googled acting workshop Munich English. And as serendipity would have it, there was an acting coach, an amazing acting coach out of LA in Munich that weekend teaching a workshop, and there was one spot open. So I whipped out my credit card. I signed up for that thing. I showed up the next morning with my packed lunch and my thermos of water, with high hopes and low expectations, to be very honest. I just had no idea what to expect from any of it, whether it would be the caliber that I wanted it to be, whether it would be the kind of training that I resonated with. But it was amazing. And what happened was I realized within an hour of the workshop starting that there had been this pilot light burning in me for 16 years. And by the end of the workshop, it had just like combusted, and I was on fire. The coach saw it as well. He's like, you three are on fire. You have got to stay in contact. You've got to continue with this. I'm still friends with one of the women I met from that workshop. And I came home that Sunday night and told my husband, I need to relaunch my acting career. I know I'm 47, now I'm 58. But at the time I was 47, I said, I have no idea what this looks like. I have no idea if I'm going to fall flat on my face. I don't care. I just know that when I get to the end of my days and I am watching my final film of my life playing in my head, I don't want to be screaming, change the channel. I want to know that I gave everything that I could to have an impact in this world, to have my life have meaning beyond being a mom and wife, which is meaningful in itself. And, I do find meaning in that, but I also want to have broader meaning and be able to impact and influence more people, I guess. So that's kind of it in a very large nutshell.
Very big nutshell, yes.
Yeah, I brought you up to date now. Now you're up to date, sort of. You're
really,
up to 11 years ago up to date.
So really, 3 chapters of your life, really. So your first chapter is in California, in the Screen Actors Guild and all that. Then family life and
Chicago. I was in Chicago, basically. Yeah.
And then moving to Germany, whole of the world, basically, to Munich, the greater Munich area, learning the language. Like you said, you knew how to say Gesundheit and stuff like that. When I went there, I knew how to say Guten Morgen, and that was it. And
Yeah.
I relied on
I can say English.
everyone else to help me out as I walked. And I looked like a crazy American walking down the road. And then now you found your purpose again. You found your purpose, your passion, and part of one of your founding is Passion Project to Pro, and that shows right there. It's your passion. You love it, and you want others to love what they do as well. So that's awesome. It's a testament to you and your dedication. So tell us a little bit how you started the Act Bold and of course Passion Project to Pro.
Yeah. Well, so when I decided to relaunch my career, the very first challenge that I faced was I was rusty. I mean, acting is a skill like an athlete or a singer or, anything where you have a skill that you need to stay sharp with, which I think probably goes for really anything. You have to do it in order to be good at it. And because I really hadn't done it, not really, I was doing acting adjacent, but not the acting that I wanted to be doing for 16 years. So my very first obstacle was my lack of confidence in my skills. And I believe that, this universe is made up of opposites, right? Where there's light, there's dark. Where there's up, there's down. Where there's male, there's female, right? And where there is a problem, there is also a solution. If you learn how to ask enough of the right questions. And I also believe that we are all creative human beings, whether you are using your creativity to paint pictures or act or sing is irrelevant. We are all creative human beings that can turn our creativity to finding solutions to our problems as well. And so my very first my very first challenge was getting the training I needed. And I didn't want to add on the complication of having to do that training in English. And to be very honest, I wasn't 100% convinced that I could get the caliber of training that I wanted in Munich at the time. I think times have changed. It's definitely gotten better. But at the time, I wasn't sure of that. So that left me with the option of I could fly to London, New York, LA, Chicago, and get that high caliber training, coach with those amazing coaches. But that was obviously going to be financially and time-wise really expensive. And even if my son didn't want to hang out with me on the weekends, I was still his mom. I was still making breakfast, getting him up for school, making sure he didn't break curfew too badly, all those things, right? So again, that was a challenge. I didn't want to fly all the way around. So, okay, the answer was, how could I make this happen for me here in Munich? So I started reaching out to these coaches that I wanted to work with and just saying, what would it take to get you here? And when I had enough answers, I sat down and I worked it out. And what I realized is that I could probably just get a handful of actors together and I could get the workshops, the training that I wanted at the same price that I would pay if the coach was already in Munich, just like the one that ignited my passion. And that was really my only goal. But what ended up happening almost immediately was I was getting free training. I was earning between $1,000 and $2,000 a workshop. And in many ways, even more importantly, I was building a community of other actors who were at the same place in their journey that I was on. And we were able to help and support each other as we continued on this journey. So that was what I like to call phase one of Passion Project to Pro. And it was I was so like, what do they call those things that you put on the horses? I mean, I was like, you know what I'm talking about, right? It was like the only thing I wanted was the training. I don't care. I didn't care about anything else. I just wanted the training. So I did that for a year and a half. I was bringing in 1 to 2 coaches a month, and I would call those the big workshops. And then I was doing little workshops, and those where I would invite the actors who had taken the big workshops with me to just chip in for a room somewhere. So they were paying a couple of euros every time we met. And we could then practice whatever we had learned. And so I was working out 3 to 8 hours a day, 5 to 6 days a week for about a year and a half. And then when I felt really confident again in my skills, that's when I was like, all right, time to launch this baby. And then that's when I kind of started to do all the things that I had done when I had been a young woman. So the very first kind of interesting thing that happened was, there is ageism. I was now approaching 50, and the world is not open to a 50-year-old woman the same way it's open to a 25-year-old woman. And also, I think as a 25-year-old woman, I was I always have believed in my skills. I'm not trying to denigrate my skills in any way, but I also did get some lucky breaks through people that I knew, like people offering me auditions. I got the job, but I would never have gotten the audition without having had some of these relationships, these contacts. And luck is not repeatable. So that was another big revelation for me. It was like, okay, so if that's not repeatable, then what do I need to do? Because I think also as a young woman, a typical artist, I was like, I'm not in business. I'm an actor. I'm an artist. I'm a creative person. I don't need to know about these things. But as a grown-up, I say that with quotation marks, but as a grown-up, I realized that I really needed to understand the business of being an actor. And I really believe in breaking down challenges to their smallest component first. So, because I think many times people will look at the challenge. Oh my God, learn the business of being acting. Whoa, where does that even start? How do you do it? What's the first step? What's the most important thing? What's going to have the most impact? Blah, blah, on and on and on. And if you just break it down to the very first challenge, and for me, I felt my first challenge was getting over my own limiting beliefs around my age and my lack of perfect German. My German was good, but nobody was ever going to mistake me. No, but still, nobody will ever mistake me as a native-born German speaker. And I fought against that in the beginning. I fought against both of those things, wanting to be perceived as younger, wanting to be perceived, as a German, this and that, and neither one was going to happen. So I realized I was kind of shooting myself in the foot with these limiting beliefs, or this dogged, see me the way I want you to see me. And that's not how it works in this world, right? So I had decided that I would become a life and career coach, initially with no interest in coaching whatsoever, just to get over my own limiting beliefs, which I did. And it worked very well, taught me that, honestly, what most people think is holding them back is often the key, if not the actual superpower of what makes them unique and what makes them who they are and able to tell their own unique stories. But the other thing that it did, it was like this revelation, because I realized, I can just adopt somebody else's timeline and strategies or framework and strategies and condense my own timeline instead of having to learn everything through trial and error. And then it was like, what else don't I know? And then it was, oh boy, what don't I know, right? Lots. So, and then I really was on this mission to learn as much as I could about business. To be very honest, whether you're an actor or you're a coach or you are a fitness instructor or a therapist, whatever it may happen to be, if you are the company, if it is your business, you are the mast of this business, it is a personal brand. And so you must know what makes you stand out beyond your competition. And then the beauty of understanding what your brand is that it then can act as a North Star and sort of lead you in the direction you want to go with your marketing and your networking. So you're not trying to get everybody to love you. It's like, no, I really resonate with this and this and this. And because it lights me up, you are going to feel that authenticity in the words that I use with you, the compliments that I give you. You'll know that they're true. It's not just about give me a job, any job. And it really ends up giving you direction. So I would say a couple of years into my journey, I realized I was getting typecast a lot. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to swear on the show, so I won't. But it was as the witch in charge with a B.
Yes.
That's how I was getting. You got it. Good. So that's how I was getting cast all the time. And sure, I can play that, and I don't think anybody, if you're watching this, nobody's going to go like, really? I'm not so sure. Yeah, it's part of, I'm a strong woman and it comes across but what they weren't seeing were all the other layers. They weren't seeing my humor. They weren't seeing my maternal side. They weren't seeing my more vulnerable sides, my more passionate sides. What they were seeing is someone who looked like they had it all together and was very kind of lean back. Whereas I'm, as you can probably tell, I'm a lean in. Like I lean in throughout the whole conversation. So I wasn't so happy with those roles. And even though I hadn't quite landed on that I needed to change my branding, I didn't have the wording for this. I knew they weren't fully understanding everything that I could bring to the table. So I set about changing that. And while I did, I stumbled across branding as like an actual thing and became even more specific and intentional about it. And then, everything with acting takes a while because you have to create a film or a scene or a short film, whatever it may happen to be. You have to edit it. You have to, so everything takes a while. But it took about 1.5 years for me to entirely change my branding. But when I did, that's when I started to get much better bookings that were much more three-dimensional. In fact, I may have even gone too far. I ended up getting like a big supporting role in a Hallmark Christmas movie. So it was like, oh, a little too sweet. Okay, let's pull back on that one and lean into some of the, the dark corners again. And, but when I started to do that, that's when other actors started to ask, oh, how'd you get that? What are you doing? What's happening? Because your auditions, your bookings are getting a lot better. And that's when I started first coaching one-on-one, which led very quickly to one of my signature programs, which is Get Better Roles, which is where I help trained actors who feel like even though they've been doing all the right things, maybe they have an agent, they've been in the business for a while, they're not newbies or anything, the casting directors may know them, they're still not getting the opportunity to audition for the roles that they know that they can play, that they deserve. So I help them to do that by honing their brand and their marketing and their networking. And one of the techniques I was doing to do that, and I think I'm probably like a once-a-month girl or something, I don't know, because I was doing the workshops once a month. And then I decided when I was going to change my branding that I needed to write, shoot, basically produce a short film once a month. So these weren't huge things. Some of them were just a couple minutes long. But filmmaking is expensive, even when everybody's donating their time. You still have to feed them. And in order to entice like high caliber DOPs, the director of photography, the camera person, you have to offer them really great equipment, which you have to rent. And you have to, maybe you want to offer some new piece of equipment, whatever's new and trending. And how can we incorporate this? So it still costs a few €1,000, dollars, however you want to look at it, no matter what, even when everybody is donating their talent and their time for free. So then I remembered, well, I could just put some workshops together quickly and get the money I need to finance these films. And that's what I started to do. And then that's what I call phase 2, which was honestly, truly just about having a decent side income, doing something that I enjoyed, basically. I mean, it was no more, no less than that. And then phase 3 of Passion Project to Pro was really when I was using the workshops, which I'm still in, to network with people who I would normally not necessarily be able to network with. So for instance, me, an actor without a huge name, but I'm a working actor, but still not a huge name. So not a lot of power in the industry. Trying to say to a big time casting director, hey, you want to sit down and talk with me for an hour? No thanks. Got other things to do. So offering them a workshop, to pay them to put on a workshop, was giving them a platform to showcase their expertise, also giving them a place to meet other actors that maybe they could use for their projects, as well as literally financially paying them. And then we were able to meet not just as actor to casting director or actor to showrunner or whatever it may happen to be, but human being to human being. And we both have this passion for the acting industry, for the film industry. And at the very least, I always was able to create a professional friendship. And best case scenario, which has happened a handful of times, I've actually created real friendships with people who I, spend time with, doing whatever you would do with normal friends, go out to dinner, go see a movie, have Thanksgiving together, those kind of things. And I guess that leads me to, throughout these past 13, 14 years since I decided to relaunch my career, and maybe it's just my age, I just know so many people that have spent the majority of their lives doing things that don't light them up, because they don't see a way to what lights them up in a way that would, that they could monetize. And I think the problem is, I think where this stems from is that people think that they have to be an expert in order to monetize their passion. So you're either doing it like I earn money as an actor, or you're teaching it. I don't teach acting, but a lot of actors do to supplement their income, and there's nothing wrong with it. And I do believe in having many streams of income for no matter what. This is a precarious world we're living in at the moment. So you don't want to just be tied to one thing. But I think what people don't realize is the advantages to just being a beginner and using that beginner mindset to create community and curate the curriculum that you would like to have. So you're pulling in the coaches, you're pulling in the experts, and you are creating a curriculum truly for yourself. You are your perfect client avatar to begin with. And then the people that resonate with that will gravitate towards that. And then that way, you're not having to fake it until you make it. I hate that phrase. I think it's like a recipe for a disaster. It's setting you up to fall prey to imposter syndrome,
And I think for this show, a lot of the audience are military veterans or first responders in the States and around the world, that when they get out, there's that thing where I don't know what to do with my hands anymore. So I'm not doing X anymore. I'm not doing the military thing anymore. I'm not doing police or firefighter anymore. And that fear that if we don't get money coming into our family, we have to take a job. And it's not the job, like you said, the passion job, the job that you're really passionate about, or a job that makes you feel like you have a purpose. So many of the veterans, especially, don't last 1 year at their first job when they get out. They take a job just to get that money and just to make sure they feel like they're contributing to the house or to the family. And then it's basically a failure in their eyes, because they're miserable, their family's miserable because they're miserable, until they find their purpose again. And for me, it took basically about 2 years after I got out to find my purpose, and then another year or so before I started this project, and really ignited me, and I'm able to ignite others and have them share their stories on here. And I can see that passion with you as you're able to help others, especially as you started your projects after you were able to get your feet going again. When my team sent me the thing with the Heidelberg holiday on there, and that's where my dad was stationed right by there, and he went to Heidelberg. I was like, we got to have her on here, because Heidelberg. And when I went there, I was in Germany for less than 30 days of my whole military career. And me and my wife drove to Heidelberg just to see the castle and to see the town, because my dad always spoke so highly of it, and we wanted to see it and just share some of the memories he had. So that really helped us to say, yes, let's get Anne on here. So thank you for that. So I think everything you're doing shows that you have the passion for what you do, what you love, and taking that 16-year break maybe made that fire even hotter to push forward.
Absolutely. I don't believe in regrets. Like you are, just like your viewers are, exactly where they're supposed to be. And I think one thing is, many people feel like they are a failure right off the bat if they don't have a burning passion. And what I want to say to that is, follow your curiosities. Think back to a time in your life that there are a bunch of different questions to ask yourself, and maybe I'll just go through them real quick if you think that would help.
Sure.
But one is just think back to when you were in school. What were your favorite subjects? What are your favorite after school activities? What do you like to talk about? Whether that's football or, dog training or what, right? There are so many things that get discounted because people don't see a pathway to big money right away. And it's not about that. And definitely don't view yourself as a failure if you have to take a job in the first year. All it is a stepping stone, nothing more. It's a way to give yourself that boost so your head is above water. That's it. And while your head is above water, you can start looking around. Where are the life rafts? What would I like to do? But if you're underwater drowning, that doesn't do anybody good. So definitely get yourself feeling secure in your life, I think, and income is a way to feel secure. And then start looking around to what are the things that I like. I mean, for instance, my son who always told all his life told me he didn't really have a passion, has become super passionate about survivalism for all things, right? He likes to go out into the forests and, like light his own fires and camp out and, all that. I don't even want to know, to be honest. I'm just worried about him, But yeah, he's totally into it. And there's a way forward no matter what you're into. For instance, he is going to be organizing retreats with people who are like professional survivalists, people who have, fought a bear or done this or whatever it is. Like, there was one guy recently who was out in the wild for 10 days with just a knife. I mean, wow. Yeah. So there are ways forward. And I think where you can really find something that can become very interesting is if you can find two passions and where they align. So this might not speak to your audience directly, but as an example, I think they'll get what I mean. So one of my clients is an actor who also loves vintage clothing. And so it was all about finding, and for her, this was about her actor, how to promote herself as an actor. But it was all about finding the crossroads of that. So what we settled on was like every new piece you get, that she would create a monologue about this piece and wear it and model it and this and that, and then sell it, which was a way to amazingly boost the prices of her store. And it was a really unique way to be selling vintage clothing in a way that really stood out amongst the competition. And she was able to use it on her acting, profiles and things like that. So there are always crossroads and areas where things intersect and become completely unique. But don't worry if you don't have that to begin with. First, just start with following your curiosities.
Definitely, 100%. The first job I had when I came out of the military was mentoring other veterans as they went through the transition process. Basically, a 6-month time doing a fellowship, and I met a young man, a Navy veteran named Hermie Castillo. He was working at a theater in LA, and he was doing productions there for other veterans to share their story. And his dream was to be an actor. And now he has a whole list on IMDb, I think 31 things on IMDb that he's been in, including NCIS, Young Sheldon, Big Bang Theory, I think Young and the Restless, Mom. And he's like the epitome of the veteran that just goes after it and does it. And I love following his career. He was one of my first guests on the show to share that a veteran can do that and show that you can, if your passion is to be an actor, you can do that as a veteran.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of my clients right now was a corrections officer on death row in San Quentin for 25 years. He's retired, and that's what he did. He raised 7 kids, and he had this steady, secure job for 25 years. Really kind of a fascinating job. I'm sure it wasn't an easy job. And now he is full into being an actor. And there are no expiration dates on our dreams, right? And it's never too late to start. You always have to know that wherever you are, it's where you're supposed to be. But but your dreams, your passion, your curiosities, they are the key to finding your purpose. Because at the end of the day, we all just want to matter. We want our lives to have meant something, right?
100%.
And yeah.
We have a question from the audience in here from Twitch, actually.
Okay.
At Jam23, can you share the key steps or strategies from your method that helped you turn your passion for acting into a sustainable profession, and how others can apply these principles?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, it breaks down to there are 5 pillars of a thriving acting career. It's mindset, branding, marketing, networking, and community. The pillars all work together holistically. The most important thing to know is that mindset is 80% of everything. Whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right. And the other 20% is really just, a little bit of mentoring, mechanics, that kind of a thing. Next, because as an actor, you have to understand the way you are being perceived so that you can adjust as necessary. So my thing, as I mentioned earlier, was they were just seeing kind of one aspect of who I was, and they weren't seeing the whole picture. So now I help my actors to come up with an actor's statement or an actor's log line, whatever you kind of want to call it, which you may or may not decide to use if you're an actor in your marketing materials. But what it does is it acts as a beacon of something for you always to follow. So for my branding, I play high status women, morally ambiguous, with a fierce heart. It's simple, it's concise, it's straight to the point. Took me years to get to that. Years, to break it down into something that was so simple and so on brand. And knowing what it is that you play will enable you to have the correct messaging and marketing. Because as an actor, there are only 2 skills that really, really matter. One is acting, obviously, right? But the other one, when you're not actively acting on a job, or you are actively looking for a job or working on improving yourself. But the other skill that you need to have is being able to pitch yourself. And if you don't like the word pitch, think of it as advocating for yourself. And that goes into your marketing and your messaging. And so being able to understand that, what it is that you bring to the table, then being able to infuse that into your marketing and your messaging. And again, as I said earlier, it then also guides you to the networking opportunities that will present themselves to you and that you can make happen. I'm very much about knowing what you can control and knowing what you can't control. And don't waste time on things you can't control. You can control what you think, what you do, and how you choose to perceive the things, your experiences. That's it. But that's a lot. And those are it is a lot, right? And so what's that?
They can hit rewind and replay it to get it all. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a big involved, it's very simple, and yet it's not easy. Right? Because if it were easy, everybody would be doing it.
Exactly. 100%. And this has been a quick 45 minutes, really. We've rocked through your whole life up till about 4 years ago, probably think we're up to. But you're doing great things. And I love that you put your passion into helping others now. What we do at the end of this show all the time is ask our guests to give 3 things our audience could do starting either today or tomorrow to make their life a better thing for themselves or be more successful, be a better human. What would those 3 things to be for you to tell them?
Recognize that fear is a part of your life, the fear of what other people think, or the fear of failure, or the fear of whatever it may be. But fear is a natural part of our lives as human beings. It's that little reptile brain just trying to keep you safe. So invite it to move out of your way and to stand in the corner and watch you, but don't let it stop you. So that's definitely one. And know that taking small, consistent steps towards what you want, begin with the first challenge. Don't look at the mountain of a challenge. What's the foothill challenge? Just start with those first challenges and work your way up the mountain slowly. But every step you take is expanding the boundaries of your comfort zone, because your dreams are not within that comfort zone. So you must keep expanding it. You must keep making the boundaries bigger and bigger. And the third thing, start messy. Like, just everybody wants to think about it and prepare for it and this and that. And honestly, the only way to learn is by doing. So just get out there and do it, and then make it better the next time. And that's basically it. That's life. Just do it. And also, I don't know if anybody was sparked on the Passion Project to Pro, but I do offer a free workbook for that. So that would definitely kickstart anybody's journey, whether they want to be a dog trainer or whatever it may happen to be, or an actor. I mean, that's in there as well, because that's what I was doing, right? Was using that. And that's at actboldtraining.com/P2. P is in passion, small case.
Awesome. And what's the best way to get in contact with you if someone wants to have you on their show, or just to pick your brain?
Yeah, I am super easy to find on all of the socials, Anne Alexander-Sieder, or you can also find me at Act Bold, act_bold on Instagram, act_bold on Linktree. That's probably the best, because that has all of my links there.
Awesome. And thank you for taking some of your evening in Munich to hang out with us today. And we look forward to your projects in the future and how much success you'll have helping others find their passion.
Rich, it was my absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Enjoy your day or night.
You too. Thanks. Bye.
This message is from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Did you serve in the military? If so, you can obtain a free lifetime pass to more than 2,000 federal recreation sites. These sites are located across more than 400 million acres of public lands, including national parks, wildlife refuges, and forests. The lands host activities to fit any lifestyle: hiking, biking, fishing, camping, and much more. Gold Star families are also eligible for these free lifetime passes. Plus, they cover entrance fees for a driver and all passengers in a car, or up to 3 additional adults at sites that charge per person. Obtaining one is easy. Just go to the National Park Service website, nps.gov, or the National Park Service app.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation show. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. That's themisfitnation.com. Check out all our past episodes and get some of the great Misfit Nation gear for you and your family. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling because we are
Misfit Nation. Misfit Nation.